gets louder.
There are 3 pieces of video connected together. The all related to happenings in Russia and Ukraine. The Gog and Magog war. I want you to listen carefully. First from the man of God Samuel Kakandi on 10th of August 2014. Then we hear Nathan, a 15-year Jewish boy who died for 15 minutes on the 5th of Elul 5775 or 2015, taken to heaven and was shown Israel's destiny and the Third World War. And in 2016, Rabbi Alon Arnawa predicted before the coming of the Messiah Russia will cause war with Ukraine, cross the passage between Turkey and Ukraine and down to Israel. Finally, Wyan made a good commentary on the war covering all 3 information given here. Listen.
Among the several prophecies that the man of God Prophet Samuel Kakande gave about the country Russia, listen to this prophetic revelation that God Almighty revealed to him way back as far as 7 years ago on the 10th day of August 2014 during a Sunday service.
Another big trouble is coming. If not prayer, it will be worse. Because you may think it does not affect us. But once it happens in Russia, America will be affected. The whole Asia will be affected. Europe will be affected. China will come in. And this will be the first war China with other nations. Europe will not like it. America will not like it. When China has joined Russia, they cannot manage. Remember, China has the majority of the human being living on the earth. So how can you fight these people? China is the world industry. And they have gone far in technology. Russia supplies gas for the whole Europe. Once it closes it, many people in Europe will die. So you cannot say that we shall not be affected while these countries, our bosses, are affected. We better stretch our hands. Once your boss is affected, you too, you'll be affected too much. Rise up. Let's raise our hands for Russia and that trouble not to happen. Let God play the good role. Ask now the Lord of your soul, as you stretch your hand upon Russia, to stop that trouble. With all your strength in prayer, we shall pray for them. Heavenly Father in Christ Jesus, Lord, we stretch our hands for Russia. We stop that war. Let them sit on the table and remove the sanctions. Stop the war, prayer. Strongly, because it will affect you. The Chinese are coming in. It will be terrible. Prayer. Prayer. Stop the war. Prayer. Heavenly Father in Christ Jesus, Lord, we beseech you, praying for Russia and that trouble to be over. We stop that war in Jesus' mighty name. Lord, answer our prayer. We beseech you, oh Lord Jesus, help us stop the war. Prayer. Jesus' mighty name.
מועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון. מוריי ורבותיי, כשהרב יהודה צלצל אליי וביקש שאני אגיע לפה כמו כל סוכות ופסח למסור שיעור, הכנתי משהו על המשיח. ולא ידעתי שטבח שמו בדרך שאדם רוצה ללכת מה מוליכים אותו, הקדוש ברוך הוא ישלח לי כזאת סייעתא דשמיא. המודעות כבר נתפסו, נדבקו, והנה הבחור שיושב פה.
Happy Holy Day, holy days and seasons for rejoicing. When Rabbi Yehuda asked me, like every Feast of Tabernacles and Passover, to come here and give a lesson, I had prepared something about the Messiah. And I didn't know that, blessed be his name, that on the path one wants to follow, the Holy Blessed One would send me such help from heaven. The posters were printed and hung. Here, the young man sitting on my right, his name is Nathan. He is not from Jerusalem. I will begin with an introduction and say he went through a very difficult experience, and in a moment he will tell you what he saw and what messages he received. What is difficult for people to understand, what's hard to understand here, is that he is only 15 years old. And when the soul leaves the body, it can receive huge amounts of information in just minutes. That means that what takes years for a person here in this world to learn, there in that world one can know and understand all within a matter of minutes, everything. So he has a lot to tell. It's hard for him to tell it. He also doesn't have the exact words to describe what he experienced, because they aren't things of this world at all. Since yesterday, I've been sitting with him and encouraging him and gleaning information from him. And little by little, you will see that he knows a lot of things. So I will begin by saying this. He is not from Jerusalem. On Monday, the 15th of Tishri, this week, on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles, he went with his mother to visit his uncle in Modin. In the afternoon, he began to shiver. He felt cold, his legs and his arms. He thought he needed to rest. He went to lie down and rest. And then what happened after that, we will let him tell you what happened, because it was him. He felt like he left his body through his nose, and he floated above himself. And at first, he didn't understand who he was, where his self was, the self that is lying here on the bed, or the self that is floating here above. Shall we begin, Nathan?
Yes, so what happened is like this. First of all, I was very sick that day, and the day before that I was also dizzy. I had fainted the day before. Now, on Monday afternoon, I also didn't feel well, and my whole body was shaking. I went to rest, I got in bed, I covered myself with a blanket because I was really cold. I don't know how to explain it. My whole body was shivering and I was in a lot of pain. I felt like suddenly I left my body, and then I saw myself in the bed. I was about 6 feet above my bed. I didn't understand if that was me there. Then who am I here? Or who is the one above my bed? And I wasn't able to understand it. Then I started to float, like I am going up in the air without an elevator. And I rose up and left the room, and I went higher and higher and higher. Should I keep telling the story?
Yes, tell about how you saw planet Earth.
And then I saw the earth from far away, and I continued to go even higher and higher. And then what happened was, I don't know how to explain it, suddenly out of nowhere, I entered a sort of tunnel, really huge, and I see at the end of the tunnel a very small light, and it was like I was in a tunnel. I don't know how to explain it. There were like these circles and more circles, and inside you see lots and lots of souls. And then I just started walking, and the light got bigger and bigger, and finally you reach that light. And that light, I don't know how to explain it. It was good. You feel safe and love. It's impossible to explain.
Is there any example in this world of a light like that? Can you compare the light you saw to anything that is in this world?
No, it's impossible. You can't explain it. And it was like the light just spoke with me. Like, it didn't say words. It was like you understand it's talking to you and asking questions. If it asked me if I wanted to die. I understood that if I crossed the line of light, then I wouldn't be able to go back. I answered that I didn't know. I had no idea what to do.
The body is down below on the bed.
Right.
And now you have returned to it.
Yes. What? No, I didn't see it. Keeping Sabbath. Wow. Someone who breaks the Sabbath in public also has a very harsh punishment. Like, it's also a very big sin. Like if you turn on your phone and talk to someone on the Sabbath, the smallest thing, because you are breaking the Sabbath. It doesn't matter what you do. Sabbath, you violate it. Then you will have a very big punishment for that. I knew a little, but I didn't care about the things going on here. I didn't care about this world. I cared about what would happen to me there, what would be done with me, what they would do to me. That's what I cared about. If you sin on accident, I think it's okay, if you did it by accident. Serious sins? It's, I told you, like I told you before. A person who repents, his sins are not mentioned. There are sins that I asked forgiveness for already before, but they are never brought up. They didn't show them to me.
Well, we have a videographer here, a professional. We will, with God's help, make a disc, and it will go up and be distributed. And we will publicize it in every manner that is possible, God willing. He's trying to make out of this
15 minutes. 15 minutes. 15 minutes, yeah.
Yes, gentlemen, that is what I said in the beginning. It's hard to understand, but what we can acquire in years of learning, there you can understand everything in 1 minute. Take note of what he says. He says, I understand on my own and see on my own. And he isn't the first who was there and came back. I personally know many, many more like him. They all say the same thing, a huge amount of information in a second. That means that a person can be in one place and he knows where his father is and where his mother is and what is happening with them.
I knew everything.
Every event of his life passed before his eyes, and it's just the world of truth. In the world of truth, everything is revealed. There is nothing hidden. The soul can receive. There is no limit to what it can receive. We are here in this world, and we are limited in what we can receive. But there are no limits. The soul is not limited. So a person can, in just minutes, learn information and everything that happens there, all in just 1 or 2 minutes. 15 minutes is a long time. I want to go back to that point where you are there and you understand everything for yourself.
Yes.
So they showed you the two ways, that there is here and there. But the audience sitting here more or less knows all of that. That there is this and that. You are just coming now and strengthening for us what we read in the books and learned. Now, what is more interesting for us? I want to ask you questions about the Messiah.
Okay, great.
Could you know who the Messiah was?
I couldn't know. I could only know what his traits were, what he needs to be in order to be the Messiah.
And can you tell us if he is here or there?
He's here. He must be here. It can't be that the Messiah is dead. That can't be.
That can't be.
It has to be somebody who is here, who people know. But when he becomes the Messiah, everybody will be surprised.
That means that when the Messiah, with God's help, is revealed, it will be a surprise?
A huge surprise.
And people will say, ah, that's the Messiah.
It will be like, wow, that's the Messiah, like that.
Good. Now I want to go back to something else. You say you could know what was going to happen in the world. When you were there, what did you understand was going to happen?
According to what I knew there, I'm sure I know it. When I was up there, I knew what was going to happen in the world. And according to what I knew, what I told you about the Messiah and everything, I also knew that the redemption and the revelation of the Messiah is going to happen very soon. It's like it's going to happen in the very near future. It's imminent. It's like imminent. The redemption is really coming.
Now tell me, when you were there was no concept of time. How can you estimate there the concept of time? What is imminent? Is it 20 years, 2 years, a month?
Imminent is right away, like in the coming months.
In the coming months, okay. In the coming months, okay. Now, do you also know what will happen?
Yes, I know what is going to happen, yes.
And you know it from there?
Yes, only from there. Everything I know is only from there.
And where are we holding right now?
Where are we holding now? In a period, not a good one at all. I can tell you that the redemption is very close to here.
And what will happen during that redemption?
Very bad things are going to happen, but it depends on who, as far as I knew. It is certain it will occur in the coming months. There is that possibility. If we all repent, then it won't happen.
The bad things in the redemption won't happen.
The bad things.
But the redemption will arrive.
The redemption will arrive. Yes, but if they sin, the redemption will be worse.
If they sin, it will come to pass much more harshly.
Much more difficult.
And if everybody repents, it will come to pass in an easy way.
It's going to happen no matter what.
Now, according to what you know there, what you saw there, how is it going to happen?
Based on what I knew, right now our situation is not good at all. I mean, not good.
What's going to happen?
It's going to be a very big war, and everybody, the whole world will be in that war, based on what I learned. The whole world will be in that war. Everybody, all the Gentiles, all the Arabs, everybody will be against Israel and will fight in that war.
How will it begin?
It will be started by somebody named Gog. As far as I knew up there, only up there.
He is called Gog?
Yes.
And do you know who this Gog is?
I am sure I know who it is.
He will start Gog and Magog?
He will be the one who starts that war. He will bring his whole army. He will start the war here.
And he'll fight against us?
He'll fight against us. At first everyone will just want Israel. Jerusalem, Israel. Everyone will want it.
Jerusalem?
Jerusalem, yes. Everyone will want it. The whole world. They won't care about us. They will just want Jerusalem. Everyone will fight against each other because they want it. Not long at all. All of the bad things will take 2 weeks.
All of the bad things will take 2 weeks. What will happen during those 2 weeks? What are the bad things?
In those 2 weeks, what is the bad thing? More than a few million people will die. They will die like the only thing that saves them is if they repent. If a person learns the Torah and does good, that's what will save him.
It says in the Gemara, when they asked Rabbi Hagedal, what can a person do to save himself from the birth pangs of Messiah? Rabbi Hagedal answered, he should occupy himself with the Torah and acts of kindness. That's what will save him. Now tell me, what is this? What kind of war is this? A spiritual war?
No.
A war of soldiers against soldiers? What is it?
Partly. At first it will be a war between soldiers. The whole world will just come, just at first. All the Gentiles will battle each other and will want Israel. In the end, what will happen is this. Everyone will unite and fight against us, fight against Israel, and many Israelites will die. Millions will die. A ton of people will die.
Those who didn't keep the Torah and good deeds?
They will die.
And those who did keep the Torah and good deeds?
Those who kept the Torah and do good deeds, it depends if they learned the Torah and did good deeds. There are those who observe but don't really care about it. They are loose about it. But if someone is really strict and studies the Torah and does good deeds, he will be saved.
How will he be saved?
He will be saved. What will happen is like this. Based on what I saw up there...
What do you mean what you saw? Did you see it like a movie of the future?
Yeah, like a movie of the future. I see it in a movie of the future. You see it in a few seconds, but it's lots and lots of time. Like the movie of my life, I saw it first. They showed me my life in a split second. Like in a fraction of a second, they showed it to me. And I saw every single second of my life. When I was a baby, when I was a little boy, I saw it all.
Now let's move forward. You saw a movie.
I saw a movie.
Let's call it a movie of the future, of what's going to be.
Yes. I saw everyone attacking Israel and came against us and fought against us. The IDF will hold them off for 2 days. then everyone will just kill us and we won't have anyone to help but God. And then, suddenly...
Wait. This war, the IDF will hold for only 2 days?
2 days.
And after 2 days?
We'll be finished by then.
No IDF?
No IDF.
So everything is open?
Everything is open.
So when you say that Gog is Obama, Obama is the United States, you say that he will lead the...
He will lead the whole war.
And who will join him?
Who will join him? Iran will join him. The UN. The whole UN.
Russia?
Yes, Russia, South Korea, the whole UN. Really, everyone. Everyone. All 70 nations will rise against us. 70.
Where is ISIS in all this?
ISIS. This is what I saw. They will kidnap people. They will just kidnap people.
They will kidnap our people?
Yes, like they did to Gilad Shalit. They will also do that. They will kidnap people and torture them and things like that. For now, what I also saw is that the Mount of Olives next to Jerusalem, for those who are saved, that mountain will split in two. And when the mountain splits, that very second, the Messiah will be revealed to everyone. Everyone will just see that it's the Messiah. We will know it's the Messiah. Here he is, revealed to everyone. He will stand at the entrance of the Mount of Olives, and he will say who can enter and who cannot enter. Anyone who is not saved will stay outside and die, and anyone who is worthy will be saved. You have to know what he will be saved from. So the mountain just opens, and also...
Now, it opens. It opens?
It splits in two.
Something like...
No.
An earthquake?
No.
A nuclear bomb? What?
No, they will rise up. You know how on the Mount of Olives there are graves, right? So 2 of the dead people will walk out. 2 dead people will come back to life. 1 from here and 1 from there. It will split in 2. That's how it will happen. And what I saw is that the Messiah is someone who can't sin. Someone with no sin. Someone who never sinned.
He is someone who repented?
Yes, he never sinned. He had never committed any sins. He is without sin. He didn't commit even 1 sin. It can't be that the Messiah is someone who sinned. It can be someone who we know very well. Lots and lots of people know him based on what I knew. But everyone will be very, very surprised that he, of all people, is the Messiah. Also, now, this Messiah, the Messiah, he will fight against Obama. And not only that, he will kill him and bury him in Israel. And I saw that. Yes, he will be buried in Israel. And I saw that when the Mount of Olives split in 2, then Messiah will stand at the opening. But he won't care who is religious, who has a beard, who a person is. He sees a person's holiness. He will smell each person. He will smell if someone is holy, if he is pure, if he did good deeds, if he is kind, to see if he has true fear of heaven and not just afraid of punishment and things like that. He won't say, "Here you are, you have a hat, you can go in." It's not like that. He will have power to feel what is truly inside every person.
Nathan, I ask you once again, you know all this from up there.
I know all of it from there.
A week ago, you didn't know any of this.
I didn't know these things. I didn't know. I had no idea. Nothing. Nothing.
No, he didn't. He is not a Jewish school student. Wait 1 second, 1 second. I just want to say something here. Look at what he is saying, and look. He says that Gog is Obama, and that Gog, Obama, will fall here in Israel. And God will give Obama a grave here in Israel.
Here in Israel.
So Ezekiel the prophet says, on that day I will give Gog a burial place in Israel.
That's exactly what they said to me. Exactly.
Ezekiel.
Exactly the same thing.
And you say that the Mount of Olives will split.
The Mount of Olives will split in 2.
So Zechariah the prophet says, then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, and his feet shall stand in that day on the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof.
Is that really what is written?
Yes, Zechariah the prophet.
That's exactly what I saw.
Zechariah the prophet, he was a long time ago.
That is exactly what will happen if things stay as they are. If the world keeps on like this, that is what will happen, for sure.
Now, a woman asked a good question, and I also want to ask, how will we know when it starts?
It will start with a boom. First of all, it has already started.
It has started?
As far as I could see, it has started. It started on September 11th, 2015. It has already started.
On the 27th of Elul last year in 5775.
This year, yes. Last Hebrew year.
We are in 5776, so it started last year, 3 days before Rosh Hashanah. Gog and Magog started.
Yes, that war has already started.
So why don't we sense anything?
Because God won't bring it at first. What will happen one certain day, it will just erupt. something will set off and it will just erupt. All of the news channels, everything. Everyone will say, World War III has started. Everyone will just know. That's it. There's no time. And everyone will know that God has caused this event.
You mean that there will be a security incident?
Yes.
And that causes everything to go out of control?
Yes.
Everyone will start fighting against each other?
Yes, exactly.
So at first, they will fight against each other?
Yes.
And us?
We will be outside of it, but then everyone will come against us. They will unite and come against us.
Okay, fine. We'll see, okay?
It's like he doesn't know this is the Messiah.
Speak into the microphone. Speak into the microphone.
Yes, yes, he's an important person, a great person. What's that? I have no idea. I don't know. I only know that he has no sins. He doesn't commit any sins at all. He's a great man, and when he becomes the Messiah, everyone will be very, very surprised that it's him. He was secular. He was secular.
Messiah, he says it's someone who must have repented. He is a person who is sinless, and everyone knows him.
Yes.
And it will be a surprise.
It will be a surprise that it's him.
Wait, slowly, slowly. We want to continue a little more with what you are saying, what you saw in the future. So, gentlemen, we have started to understand a few things. First of all, it all started on September 11th. The War of Gog and Magog started.
World War III.
It seems to be small until some event causes an all-out war to start. That will be the final sign. At first, we will not be involved in that war, but after that, everyone will unite against us.
Yes.
And they will fight us because they want Jerusalem.
Yes.
And now you say you think you just said that, but not in chronological order. I'm trying to make some order here. They'll fight against us, and the army will hold out for 2 days?
It will hold out for 2 days, that's all.
And after that, no army?
No army, finished.
And then they come in?
They come in.
They kidnap people?
They kidnap people, they kill them.
They kill people?
Rockets, missiles, you name it.
Wait. Now we get to the part about the rockets and missiles.
Yes.
I heard about that from a lot of sources, and there is also a prophecy that talks about a nuclear bomb.
A nuclear bomb, but the bomb will be small, not large, and God will just stop it in the sky, and it won't fall.
You mean they will fire a nuclear bomb at us, and God will freeze it in the sky?
He will freeze it in the sky, and after a few weeks it will fall. But it will only fall on 2 cities, Tel Aviv and Haifa.
The nuclear bomb will only fall on those 2 cities?
Yes, those 2 cities.
Okay, and now they come in and conquer?
They totally conquer, really conquer everything.
And they get as far as?
They actually get all the way to Jerusalem.
To Jerusalem?
But Jerusalem will be a refuge, like whoever wants to be saved, only in Jerusalem. But the war will also be there. So whoever is worthy will be protected, and whoever doesn't will not. Whoever observes the Torah and does good deeds and such, he will be saved.
So the righteous ones who are outside of Jerusalem, will they come here and be saved?
They will come here and be saved.
And the wicked, evil people in Jerusalem will not be saved? That means it isn't the place, but it's the person.
It's the person.
It's his actions.
Yes.
And then the Mount of Olives splits.
It splits in 2.
And the Messiah stands there.
The Messiah stands at the opening, yes.
And he doesn't judge people based on their clothing.
He does not judge clothing. He judges the inside of a person. He knows what is inside every single person, their inner selves, and who they truly are.
There is a verse that says he will judge with smell. He smells the fear of God and knows who you are. So he comes in, and when anyone else comes in, what is there? A security gate?
Something like that. A security gate. Exactly. After that, what happens is, I didn't tell you what I saw that will happen. After the Mount of Olives splits in 2, whoever is worthy will go in. But whoever does not, God will come. He himself will come. He will be in a robe. He will be in a robe, just a huge robe. And on the robe will be bloodstains. The bloodstains are from all the Jews who died in all the generations of Israel, who the Gentiles killed.
Only because they were Jews?
Only because they were Jews, yes. God will come and take revenge on all the Gentiles. I know that there is also a verse about that. He will read that verse too, which says, O God of vengeance, render to the haughty their recompense. So I knew that this verse, that's about this. You should know that I knew all of this up there.
Good. Now, I'll just ask one question about the Gentiles. God will have vengeance on the Gentiles. Do you know how?
What will happen is it will happen in only a few minutes. He will just destroy everything. I just saw it from above. Just all the buildings, everything will just fall. Every step, every wall, everything will just fall. Collapse. Suddenly everything will just collapse. It could be that. It could be that if people wake up, they will repent. There is a choice. But right now, what I saw happen is what is. Right now, we have the worst case.
Nathan, I want to read to you and to the congregation a prophecy from Ezekiel 38. You say mountains fall, and you also mention the word step.
Yes, steps. All the steps, buildings, everything, but only in specific places. But if there are places where there are righteous people, that thing won't happen. The steps and walls won't fall.
Will it only be in Israel or everywhere in the world?
Everywhere in the world.
Everywhere in the world. So the prophet says, all the creeping things that creep upon the earth, and all the men who are upon the surface of the earth shall quake, and all the mountains shall be thrown down, and the cliffs, the word is also read steps, shall fall to the ground.
Really? Is that what is written?
Yes. Does it fit? Does it fit?
Yes.
אפשר לשאול שאלה? דוגמה, בראש שנה דוגמה הולכים לאומן, לא יודע, רבינה, כאילו אומרים שהוא מציל את הנשמות וכל זה, כאילו, יש דבר כזה, כאילו, שאתה אומר שהמשיח כאילו יסנן אנשים, כאילו, הצדיק הזה כאילו מציל את, כאילו, איך זה הולך?
He saves people. Like, if he's the Messiah, he isn't the Messiah for nothing.
שמי שהולך לזה, הצדיק מציל אותו, רבי נחמן, דוגמה, באומן.
I don't know what you...
לא, אני שואל פשוט מישהו אמר לי לשאול, אבל אני אומר...
Whoever goes to Uman is saved? It depends which people. Yes.
That is to say, the general rule is like this. It doesn't matter where you live or where you go. The only thing it depends upon is what you do.
Yes, and after that war, many people will die. I don't know exactly. To tell you the exact number, do you know?
Nobody knows.
A lot will die, millions of Jews. In the same amount, exactly the number of Gentiles will die. The exact number of Gentiles will die as the number of Jews. And who won't die from among the Gentiles, who will be worthy to remain, those who kept the 7 laws of Noah, and the Jews who observe the Torah in good deeds and all. And that will only be the beginning. What will happen is just like...
So wait, Nathan, slowly. We have Gog and Magog, which has already begun.
Yes, it's already begun.
We have the downfall. They conquer us and get Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives splits.
Yes.
Whoever enters the Mount of Olives, that essentially protects him.
Yes.
It protects him, and then God appears, and he is the one who fights the Gentiles.
Yes.
You say that he comes wearing a white robe with bloodstains, and those bloodstains are in fact the bloodstains of all the Jews who were killed only because they were Jews over all the generations.
Yes.
The destruction of the first temple, the destruction of the second temple, the Inquisition, there is no lack.
No lack.
And now God avenges them and just wipes them out.
He wipes them out.
And he makes a grave for Obama there.
In Israel.
In Israel.
You're in Israel, yes.
Okay, now what's the next phase?
The next phase, the redemption will begin, but it will only be in the beginning. It will take time until everything begins. First of all, there will be lots and lots of bodies, and it will take time, a long time until they remove all the bodies. That light that I told you was up there, it will descend. It will be brought down, and that will be our light, like we can see light now. What? It depends who. Yes, most of the Jews will die. What?
Again, it doesn't matter where you are. It matters what you do.
It doesn't matter where you are. It matters what you do. What? The Gentiles will come here. Whoever is here. Whoever isn't. Everyone is on their own, if they stay outside of Israel. What? If they obeyed the Torah and good deeds, then yes, and if not, then no. If they are wicked, then no.
Gentlemen, this is a mistake. It's not where a person lives. It's like if someone comes here to Jerusalem from another country and eats in a steakhouse, and I tell him, listen, that steak isn't kosher. He asks me, then why is it served here in Jerusalem? It's not where you are. It's not that you live in Jerusalem, it's kosher, and if you live in Jerusalem, you are righteous. You can also be righteous in other countries. God doesn't check here. He doesn't do geography tests, but God checks what you do here. He takes the account of each person and every person and checks it. Whoever has earned merit will be saved. Whoever is guilty will not. So that means nothing here will help. They take an x-ray of you and they look at it, who you are. If you are okay with the Torah and good deeds, you remain. And it doesn't matter where you are. If you aren't okay, a wicked person can be condemned from Kotel and a righteous person can be saved in New York. God, maybe Nathan doesn't remember this, but we know it, that God will gather everyone and bring him here. And whoever is worthy, he will remain alive and will eventually come here. And whoever is not will be lost. The Ramak also wrote about this, that whoever is stiff-necked, he will be lost. So don't rely on a place or not on jewelry or anything. You simply need to consider one thing. Do you study the Torah, obey the commandments, and do good or not? That's it. That's the criteria. Do you understand? Wait, move on, slowly. 1 second.
1 second.
Slow down. We want to make order here. Because otherwise everything will get out of control. So God comes here and fights and eliminates all the Gentiles. And once again, you are repeating the same questions. Esau knows there is the Messiah. He doesn't know who it is. He knows that he is here in this world. I am explaining in his place. What he was able to know is that the Messiah is someone who repented, and since he repented, he has not committed any sins. The Messiah is someone who repented, and he also brings others back to the fold. And everyone who knows him, he is a very, very famous figure, and with God's help, if God desires, he will reveal himself and redeem Israel. The depth of sin, severity of judgment, this severity of judgment above. Is there mercy there? In the heavenly court?
With me, they were kind and merciful because I was under age 20. But whoever is over age 20 will not get mercy. But they were a little merciful with me. They gave me some mercy. Even though they were strict about my sins and everything. But for people over 20, it's even more. What's the problem? It will take you just 1 minute to repent. Why not? If you really believe that God is real, then you just repent. Ask him to forgive your sins and don't repeat them. This is what it means to repent.
And good intentions. God adds to your account. A person who repents from the moment he truly decides that he wants to repent fulfills what is written, as if he fulfilled the entire Torah.
What?
Now, when you were up there and the body was lying here on the bed, you say that you could know forward, above, to the sides, behind. You could see in all directions. You also know what's going on with your body. Your body is down below on the bed.
Right.
And now you have returned to it.
Yes. What? No, I didn't see it. Keeping Sabbath. Wow. Someone who breaks the Sabbath in public also has a very harsh punishment. Like, it's also a very big sin. Like if you turn on your phone and talk to someone on the Sabbath, the smallest thing, because you are breaking the Sabbath. It doesn't matter what you do. Sabbath, you violate it. Then you will have a very big punishment for that. I knew a little, but I didn't care about the things going on here. I didn't care about this world. I cared about what would happen to me there, what would be done with me, what they would do to me. That's what I cared about. If you sin on accident, I think it's okay, if you did it by accident. Serious sins, it's, I told you, like I told you before. A person who repents, his sins are not mentioned. There are sins that I asked forgiveness for already before, but they are never brought up. They didn't show them to me.
Well, we have a videographer here, a professional. We will, with God's help, make a disc, and it will go up and be distributed. And we will publicize it in every manner that is possible, God willing. Once again, you are repeating the same questions. Esau knows there is the Messiah. He doesn't know who it is. He knows that he is here in this world. I am explaining it.
So good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. But they say, Kol hakavah letovah. Every delay is for the good. And my grandmother used to say, good things come to those who wait. So we've been waiting for the Geulah for so many years. 3 more minutes, we can handle. So my name is Alon Nava, and today we're going to talk about the most important topic that we need to know and concentrate about, is the fact that Mashiach is coming any second. And I know many people say, we've been hearing about it for so many years. Why should it come now? Thousands of years we've been hearing that Mashiach is coming, Mashiach is coming. Now he's going to come? Why? Why should he come now? So tonight, I'm going to try to cover a few topics. The first topic is sources that prove to us that Mashiach has to come now. Now, in the last half a year, I did a very, very long research, and I got to about 300 pages of sources from Torah, from Tanakh, from the Zohar, from Midrashim, from the Gemarot, from Mekubalim, 300 pages of sources that all shows that the Geulah has to come now. I'm not going to share with you all these 300 pages. I'm only going to share a few of them because it's not so important. But the most important thing to understand is that the Geulah is happening now. The Geulah, I mean the redemption, the coming of Mashiach. Once we understand that we're right in the doorstep of the Geulah, that Mashiach is coming any minute, then the next step is, how am I getting ready? And we know, the Gemara teaches us that the Geulah can come in 2 times. The first time that it can come, Beita, in its time. There's a date decided, and this is the day it's going to come. And then there's another option, that it's going to come, what's called Ve'achishena. I'll bring it faster. Which means that if we, as the Jews, get our act together, we can bring the Geulah faster. These are the 2 options what it can come. There's also 2 options that the Geulah is going to come, what's called Bechesed Ve'Barachamim. It's going to come in a very merciful way. And Chas V'Shalom, it can also come, I don't want to even say how it's going to come. In the book of Daniel, it says that if the generation has the merits, im zachu, then Mashiach is going to come, what's called on Ananei Shmaya, on clouds of glory. We're going to be taken on clouds, first class, from here to Eretz Israel. The Gaon Chida says, the Ben Ish Chai says, this is kepshuto, meaning that they're really going to be crowds. But for this to happen, to go first class on the clouds, the entire generation has to have this merit. This is only im zachu. If we have enough merits, that's how the redemption is going to come. This is what it says in the book of Daniel. But in the book of Zechariah, it says, im lo zachu. If we don't have the merit, Mashiach is going to come poor, ani verochev al chamor, poor and riding on a donkey. Now there are many sages, not 1, not 2, many sages, many prophets, many mekubalim that knew exactly when the Geulah is coming. The main place where I drew most of the sources is from the Zohar, from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that says in many places clearly when the Geulah is coming. We touch a few of the sources, how we really know that Mashiach has to come right now. Now first of all, we know that the world was created for 7,000 years. It says in the book of Yeshaya, chapter 2, verse 11, that the world was created for 7,000 years. Now, first of all, it says in the pasuk, Shit alfei shnei have alma vechad charuv. 6,000 years the world is going to be in one state, and then 1,000 years is going to be in a state of destruction. This is what it means. This is going to compare to the 6 days of creation. The first 6,000 years go to the 6 days of creation, and the last millennium, the last 1,000 year, corresponds to the day of Shabbat. This is what it says in the book of Yeshaya. So we know that the world is created for 7,000 years, and we're right now in the year 5,776. Now, it says in the book of Tehillim, in Perek Tzadik, in the chapter 90, verse 4, Ke'elef shanim be'enecha keyom etmol, that 1,000 years of us is 1 day for the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So if this is the case, so our 7,000 years is 7 days for the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now there's a place in the Zohar, there's 2 places in the Zohar, in Parashat Vayikra and Parashat Ve'etchanan, that it says that when it's time for the Kadosh Baruch Hu, for Hashem, to pray Mincha of Erev Shabbat, that's the time when the Geulah is ready to happen. So all we need to do is calculate when is time for Mincha. Very simple, in Erev Shabbat. So if we go for the fact that every 1,000 years of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, of us, is one day of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, so the first 5,000 years correspond to the first 5 days. Now we know that the day in our calendar starts at night. It doesn't start in the day. Vayi erev, vayi boker. That's how we start the night. Now the sun goes down. That's when we start counting the day. So for the first 5,000 years, that corresponds from day Sunday till Thursday evening, when the sun goes down. So now we have to calculate from the sundown till the time for Mincha. Now how do we calculate that? From Tzet HaKochavim, when sun goes down, till the morning, till Alot HaShachar, is 12 hours. Exactly half a day. And we know that Mincha Gedolah is 6.5 hours from Alot HaShachar. So we have to calculate 18.5 hours. You do a very simple calculation. You take 1,000, which corresponds to the 1,000 years, divide that into 24 hours a day, times that 18.5 hours from sundown to the time of Mincha Gedolah. 1,000 divided in 24 times 18.5, 770. That's the number. Now take the 5,000 plus 770, so you get 5,770. Taf Shin Ein. This was 6 years ago. This is the time, the year, that it's time for Kadosh Baruch Hu to put on his Erev Shabbat clothes, put the chunt on the blech, and go to pray Mincha. That's the time, midday, 6.5 hours from Alot HaShachar. Which means if we go by the source in the Zohar that the Geulah can start happening when it's time for Mincha Gedolah, it's Taf Shin Ein, 5,770. That happened 6 years ago. It means just 6 years ago was the time that the Geulah can start happening. That the Geulah, the time of the Chevlei Mashiach is going to start. Now there's a very interesting prophecy by a prophet called Zerubbabel. He's not such a known prophet. His name is Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel. He's the great-grandson of the king Yehoiachin, who's a direct descendant of King David. There's a book what's called Sefer Zerubbabel, the book of Zerubbabel. He's mentioned in 4 books, in Chagai, in Ezra, in Divrei Hayamim, and Zechariah. He's mentioned 4 times. In his book, there's a prophecy that he says that for 40 years, we're going to have possession of Yerushalayim. After the 40 years that we have possession of Yerushalayim, there's going to be 5 years of a period of Mashiach ben Yosef, and then Mashiach ben Yosef is going to die, and then the birth of Mashiach ben David is going to start. Now in history, when did we start having possession of Yerushalayim? After the 6-Day War in 1967. For 2,000 years, we didn't know, nobody had possession, not on Israel or Jerusalem. In 1967, we started having possession of Jerusalem. So take 40 years that he's talking about, from 1967, that's 2007. Add the 5 years that he's talking about the period of Mashiach ben Yosef, that's 2012. So according to his prophecy, at 2012, it's time for the birth of Mashiach ben David. 2012 is the year Tafshin Ayin Bet. There are numerous places in the Torah, and all the Mekubalim calculated that the Geulah has to come at Tafshin Ayin Bet. I didn't mean necessarily that Mashiach is coming at Tafshin Ayin Bet. Tafshin Ayin Bet is 2012. That the Geulah is going to start. And this is the time that this prophecy from Zerubbabel, after the 40 years and the 5 years, that's the time when Mashiach ben Yosef is going to die, and then we're starting the period when Mashiach ben David is going to be born. Now, there are many different prophecies that show us how we're so close. Now, there's an amazing prophecy by the Gaon from Vilna, and he says that when the Russians are going to cross what's called Meitzarei Bosorov, I think it's called Sea Strait. Sea Strait is when two continents are very close, and there's a very narrow path. The Gaon from Vilna said that when the Russians are going to cross over the Bosorov, you should put your Shabbos clothes on because Mashiach is coming. And you know when that happened? It happened half a year ago, that the entire Russian Navy crossed the sea splits of the next between Turkey and I think it's Ukraine. There's that same exact prophecy by another two tzaddikim. Three tzaddikim said the exact same prophecy. The Gaon from Vilna, Rabbi Israel from Bruzhin, and the holy Jew from Psicha. They all said the same thing, that when the Russian army with their vessels and their ships are crossing these sea strait, There's also a prophecy by the Baal Shem Tov that says the exact same thing, that when the Russians are going to start a confrontation with the Turks, and they're going to cross the same place, then you can start getting ready because the Geulah is about to come.
Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. Let's recap this week for you. Monday, Russia shells Ukraine. Kyiv applies to join the EU. Tuesday, a Russian convoy amasses outside Kyiv. Ukrainian President Zelensky calls on the West to impose a no-fly zone. Wednesday, Russia says Kherson has fallen to the Kremlin. An attack on Kharkiv destroys Slovenia's consulate building. Sweden accuses Russia of airspace violation. 143 countries vote against Russia at the United Nations. Thursday, massive explosions hit Kyiv. The United Nations says more than 1 million people have fled Ukraine. Where did they go? Poland, Romania, Germany, Slovakia, Russia, Belarus. Do you notice the pattern here? With every passing day, this war is becoming bigger. With every passing day, this war is pulling in more countries. Here's a thought. Can you call this a world war? Is this World War III? A British news outlet has a legit page on World War III. Currently, it is flooded with news from Ukraine. In another part of the world, an African politician says that his continent needs World War III. Apparently, it will be good for Africa. Don't ask me how. How many of you recognize this man? He is Dan Quayle, a former US Vice President. He recently said that the world is on the verge of World War III. Geopolitics experts believe we are already in World War III. Here's what Russia has to say. World War III will involve nukes. That's Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. The British Queen reportedly has a speech prepared for World War III. This is what it says. I have never forgotten the sorrow and the pride I felt as my sister and I huddled around the nursery wireless set, listening to my father's inspiring words on that fateful day in 1939. Not for a single moment did I imagine that this solemn and awful duty would one day fall to me, but whatever terrors lie in wait for us all, the qualities that have helped to keep our freedom intact twice during this sad century will once more be our strength. The speech was originally written in 1983. This was at the height of the Cold War. It was made public in 2013. The day Russia invaded Ukraine, World War III was trending on Twitter. Brings me back to my questions. Is this World War? And is this World War III? Let's place the current war against the definitions and checklists set by history. A world war is a war that involves the whole world, or at least the majority of it. World War I, for example, involved all of these countries. As we speak, only Ukraine and Russia are fighting. The rest of the countries are not on the front line. So history won't agree if we call the war in Ukraine a world war. But here's something else that history tells us. World wars often start small. Flashback 1914. On the 28th of June, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in Bosnia. He was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His assassin was a Serbian nationalist. A month after the assassination, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. A domino effect followed. Let's pull that map once again. Initially, only these countries were at war. More joined next year. And the year after, the United States joined the war. By 1918, almost all countries were fighting. But it all began with just 2 countries and 1 assassination. So that was World War I. What about the Second World War? Flashback 1939. Germany invades Poland on the 1st of September. 2 days later, Britain and France declare war on Germany. Once again, it has a domino effect. Before you know it, the whole world is fighting. At least 50 million people are dead. Again, it all began with one country invading another. So outbreaks need not be massive for a war to pull in more countries. Even a war between two countries can escalate and become a world war. World wars have clear alliances. Prominent countries are divided. World War I had the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance. The first side had France, Russia and Britain. The alliance had Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy. World War II had the Axis powers and the Allies. Germany, Italy and Japan were the Axis powers. France, Britain, the US and the Soviet Union were the Allies. At a glance, only two countries seem to be fighting in Ukraine, but if you zoom out, you will see a divided world. Each country has picked a side. The United Nations General Assembly's recent emergency vote is proof. The Assembly was voting on a resolution. It called for the withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine. Voting for the resolution meant voting against Russia and in favor of Ukraine. 141 countries voted in favor of Ukraine. The list includes the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada and Australia. 4 countries voted in favor of Russia: Belarus, North Korea, Syria and Eritrea. 35 countries abstained. These countries decided to not take sides, to not get involved in a war that's neither of them making, nor theirs to fight. America too was in a similar position during the First World War. Initially, it kept out of Europe's war. This was until American interests started bleeding. Things changed rapidly in 1917. The war had entered its 4th year. Germany had launched a naval blockade of the UK. German U-boats or submarines were placed in key trade routes and tasked with sinking ships carrying essential supplies and raw materials. The idea was to starve Britain into surrendering. Between March 16th and 18th, German submarines sank 3 US merchant ships. There was heavy loss of life. US President Woodrow Wilson decided to declare war on Germany. Back to the war in Ukraine. Here's what's happened in the last 1 week alone. On the 2nd of March, an Indian student was killed in Ukraine. The same day, Slovenia's consulate building in Kyiv was bombed. On the 3rd of March, Sweden accused Russia of airspace violation. The same day, Ukraine said it is welcoming foreign fighters. On the 4th of March, Russia put the entire continent in danger by attacking a nuclear power plant. Will countries be left with no option but to join this war if their interests or their own people continue bleeding? NATO is already prepared for an escalation. It has beefed up deployment in Eastern Europe. But France maintains it is not at war with Russia, at least not yet. This was the 3rd of March. The same day, French President Emmanuel Macron got on a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Putin told Macron that he wants entire Ukraine. Macron came out of the 90-minute phone call and declared that the worst is yet to come. What exactly will the worst look like? Will it be a large-scale European conflict or a wider armed conflict involving countries from around the world? Think about it. Our world is already fighting multiple wars. Experts believe China's conflict with Taiwan will turn into a military conflict sometime in the next decade. China is also fighting multiple countries in the South China Sea: the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei. India and China are caught in a standoff. There is a conflict between Iran and Israel, Iran and the United States. The United States and North Korea are arch enemies. So are the United States and Cuba. There is also a war in Syria, a war in Yemen. Israel and Palestine are fresh out of a bloody battle. The United Arab Emirates was recently hit by missiles. It is hard to rule out that countries or non-state actors will seize on a distracted world and pursue their geopolitical dreams. It is hard to rule out that an escalation on the sidelines of Ukraine will drag in more countries. It is also hard to rule out that the war in Ukraine itself will intensify and swallow more nations. Lavrov was right when he said World War III will involve nukes. 9 countries are said to have nuclear weapons today: the US, Russia, France, China, the UK, Pakistan, India, Israel and North Korea. In total, there are 13,000 weapons. Enough and more to wipe out our world. Russia has put its nuclear deterrent team on alert. The US has postponed the scheduled test of its ballistic missile. Why? Perhaps to avoid sending a wrong signal. Our world cannot afford to go to war. Earlier this week, a campaigner from Ukraine confronted British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. She claimed NATO was afraid of World War III, but said the war had already started. But here's the thing. One cannot be sure of what lies ahead. Is this a prelude to World War III? Is this the end of the post-Cold War era? Or is this Cold War II? That last question was put to US President Joe Biden. A journalist asked him, "Are we seeing a new Cold War?" "It depends," said Biden. From where I'm sitting, I see ample signs of a new Cold War. There are two clear sides, one led by the US, another by Russia. Then there are countries that have chosen to stay out. There is talk of a possible world war, signs of an escalating conflict. And I see a president who refuses to back down. Well, one thing's for sure, whichever side our world swings, we are entering an entirely new era of geopolitics.
That gets louder.